this is really focused, again, on the new so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Whether you consider a beautiful bill or not, we are nonpartisan here. We're here just to share information, but it is law. And so it's really important that we all understand this. And I am not exaggerating when I say that what we talk about here could be worth millions of dollars to you and your family, especially when we're looking across generations. Even if you don't consider yourself high net worth, you might consider yourself just a normal middle-class family. This could still be worth millions of dollars to you, and we'll show you why. And of course, if you're higher net worth, then it's even more important. So let's talk about some key changes, but before we even jump into that, I always want to make these points whenever I give presentations, because there's a lot of information we're going to go through here today. But 3 key points. 1, this is from my management consulting days and from going through a lot of very challenging personal stretches with health and other things. Hope is not a strategy. Hope that everything just works out. Hope that my half-assed, pardon my language, plan is going to be fine, or no plan is going to be fine. It's not a strategy. These are high stakes issues. Let's have a strategy and let's control what we can control. The world is chaotic. The world is scary. The world is going in all sorts of crazy directions. There's so much that we cannot control. Let's control what we can. And what I love about estate planning, what we do, is there's so much more that we can control than we think. And we'll talk about, in light of the new tax law, some areas that we can control that you might not have thought of before. And there are a few high leverage moments in life where you take 1 or 2 steps that can reverberate across your family for generations, or can have a multi-million-dollar impact on your family's future, or add security for you and your kids. So that's what these issues are. They are high leverage decisions and tools that we can use and steps we can take to protect our families. So we're going to talk about why estate planning matters more than ever, and really what the new law is. You know, estate and gift tax, the path forward. We're actually going to go through a lot more than what this says. Some highlights from the new tax law. We're going to go over the massive property tax cliff that exists for any family in California that owns property, the essential documents you need, and the secret tool that every family should have to protect future generations, protect your assets for multiple generations in ways that can have multi-million-dollar impacts. And key action steps. You know, we talk about controlling what you can control. Well, let's talk about some of the steps you can take right now or in the next year or two to make sure that you and your family are protected in light of all this uncertainty. We have to always point out, this is nonpartisan. We're not here to take political sides. This is for educational purposes only. It does not create a legal relationship. We can only do that if we work with you formally. So don't try this stuff at home, but I do hope this empowers you with really important information and gives you some ideas for steps that you can take to protect your family.
You know, I do marvel at the name of the bill. You know, the One Big Beautiful. I mean, is that not incredible marketing by Trump and his team? You talk about it, and we have to call it a beautiful bill, regardless of how we view it. Honestly, I'm so impressed with that. There's a lesson there.
Yeah. And just for those of you who don't know us, by the way, we are Gilfix and the Bull Associates. We're national leaders in our field, regularly published nationally. Mike's a regular contributor to Bottom Line Personal Magazine. He writes form books for other attorneys. We've written books. We'll show previews of those in just a moment. We've been around for over 40 years in California, multi-generational team. If you're in California, we can work with you. So we work with people from San Diego all the way up to Wairika and everywhere in between. Most of our clients are in the Bay Area, but lots in Los Angeles, many in San Diego, some in Orange County too. So we can help you if you're in California. And our goal is always to provide peace of mind and return on investment, to show the value of what we're doing and help you understand how the steps you're taking can be so powerful for your family. I think that gives so much peace of mind and can be health giving. So we're out there speaking and talking and communicating. You're watching us here today, but we really want to stay ahead of the curve, and we write books about this. So Mike and I co-authored a new version of Beat Estate Tax Forever. That's coming out. A new version is coming out very soon. We also co-authored a book on special needs planning called the Special Needs Trust Creation and Management Guide. They're available on Amazon. If you work with us, you can get a copy of these at a discount or for free in some cases. So we think about this all the time. So why don't we dive in? Let's talk about the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OBA. I guess that's what it is. It's now law, whether you like it or not. And so we're going to go through some key highlights here, but I think the key is we're not going to go through everything. Our focus is not on our focus is on estate planning and estate tax related issues. It's not on income tax. We're going to touch on some of those issues, but this is really focused on the implications of this law for your estate plan and your long-term care planning. So we're not covering everything here, but I think it's really important that we understand what this means for your estate plan. So Let's talk about what the law includes, because we're also going to go through what it doesn't have, because I think that's almost just as important as what it does have. So let's cut to the chase here. The biggest issue that we were paying attention to is the estate and gift tax exemption, the amount that you can pass tax-free to your loved ones, free of estate and gift taxes, combination of gifts made during life and what you leave to your family or loved ones when you pass away. This year, it's $13.99 million per person. Before this law was passed, it looked like that was going to plummet. It was going to drop to only $7 million per person because the current law was set to expire at the end of this year. The new law means there is no cliff. The estate tax exemption will go to $15 million per person next year. There is no sunset provision, and it is indexed with inflation. So what does that mean? It means we don't have this hard deadline of December 31st, 2025 to protect assets if you are higher net worth, and we have some certainty. Although anything that is permanent, that just means it's permanent until a new law passes. But that's different from the last bill, though, which did have a sunset provision, meaning if no new laws were passed, the numbers were going to change. Now we're in a place where unless a new law is passed, the exemption is $15 million per person. Portability between spouses is still allowed. We'll talk a little bit about what that means, but it has big implications for your trust structure. There's some people who were holding off on updating their trust. Now we kind of have certainty, and we have good, clear tax advice for that. If you're a couple married, it has big implications for the structure of your living trust. The step up in cost basis remains. This is huge. So anything in your taxable estate when you pass away still gets the benefit of a stepped up cost basis. It's a huge benefit to your family. There was some talk a couple years ago of getting rid of that. That is still available. It is still part of the law. The annual gift exemption, the amount you can give to your loved ones or anybody you want every year, is $19,000 per person this year. It looks like that's staying. It will be indexed with inflation. We're going to talk more later about what's in this law is potentially massive cuts to Medi-Cal, Medicaid, and that could have huge implications for your long-term care and how you're thinking about that.
Let's mention a couple of other things that were not included. So one is there was some discussion about that 1031 exchange that many know about, and cutting it back, limiting its use. It's not. I mean, it's intact. And there was also discussion of eliminating this use of something called discounting that we use sometimes very aggressively for folks who do have taxable estates. That also remains untouched. So again, the absence of limits on some of the tools and techniques is big news, even though it's not affirmatively in the legislation. It means we're still equipped to look at larger estates and still make dramatic positive steps to protect larger estates from estate tax exposure.
The cuts are now permanent, as I mentioned, so meaning they don't sunset. So it would take a new law passing to change the rules as they are. This also lowered individual income tax rates, or keeps them where they were from the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Another good name for a bill. It sounds good no matter what you think. I think a really interesting tool that's available, 100% bonus depreciation. So if you own a business and you make investments, this can even apply to real property, short-term vacation rentals. There's some amazing tools you can use with this, but 100% bonus depreciation is back. It was 100% a few years ago. It was phasing down, but that is back, and it looks like that's permanent. The SALT deduction for California residents. This is big for us, right? We have very, very high income tax rates at a state level. The prior law limited it to $10,000 even for couples. It has been increased to $40,000 per couple or per tax filing. So that's a benefit to Californians because we pay a lot of state income tax. It can even use property tax expenses against your federal income. Now, I want to note, though, for high earners, this does phase out. So if you are fortunate enough to make over about $500,000 per year, even as a married couple, this $40,000 phases out back down to $10,000, and it's not permanent. So the SALT deduction is going to go down over time. That is one piece of this law that is not permanent, that does sunset.
Mark, excuse me, on the SALT deduction, for those of you who are interested, in today's Wall Street Journal, there is a discussion and an explanation of how the SALT deduction impacts those with higher incomes. So again, if that's you, if your income could approach, if you're fortunate enough to have your income approach $500,000 a year or be over that, you'll want to take a look at that article. It's a nice, very understandable discussion of what the issues are.